Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so we got through about half the JRPGs in our last section of the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the previous video. And now we are going to plow through and hopefully get through the rest of the JRPG properties before we finish this recording. So
And everyone's going to keep yelling at us for our bad opinions because the next game is Mother,
yes, that's a good one to start the news
which is the
section of the
Earthbound
podcast
series.
on. Yes.
It's really three games. It's Earthbound 0 or Mother 1, Earthbound, and Mother 3, which is like the infinite never released game forever.
Yes. So, I mean, it's an interesting one to try and tier because you kind of have to have played the JRPG, like a lot of JRPGs, to really appreciate Mother, because it is kind of a
Definitely,
satire of
yeah.
JRPGs. So if you were to sit somebody down and say, here's a JRPG, play it and love it, you wouldn't do Mother because
Yeah.
Mother's really for people that have played all those S plus tier games first.
And you
So,
need a sense of humor too, because the game's going to troll you. The game's going to not be fun as a joke. So,
yeah, but at the same time, it is, as a satire, it's probably the most effective that we've seen in video games. Like, it is that kind of, this is how you do satire in video games.
absolutely,
And it
yeah.
has been so influential. Like, Undertale was directly inspired by Mother. Moon, which is a all-time kind of cult classic, was directly inspired by Mother. So for the fact that it has been so influential, we can't really drop it below S tier either. Like, it
Yeah, I
is,
think ST is a good spot for it.
yeah, I
It's
think so.
mechanics wise, not a great game. Writing wise, fantastic. And influence is just off the charts.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair spot to place it.
Plus,
Okay,
a lot
next.
of fans hate Free as well, like Mother Free as well, for like various
Wait,
reasons.
what?
No,
I thought everyone loves 3.
No, when it first came out, if you're on the forums, everyone was all like, "It's completely different. I hate this," and it was like, there's like a split of Earthbound fans which like actually love Mother Free,
Really?
and like yeah, like it was a big thing back when like it was getting like the fan like translation and stuff like that, because like fans were like disappointed that didn't live up to the expectations of
Oh, well,
Mother
JRPG,
3 is like it's like the
JRPG,
golden list of golden cows. I feel like of all the
Yeah.
games on this list, people get the most mad if we say Mother 3 is bad.
JRPG fans are never going to be happy about anything. You should know that by now, Trent.
I think in recent years, Mother 3 sort of like picked up and people like
Yeah, but
like want it and like are more excited for it. But I feel like it's more of a meme game than
It
like,
is, yeah.
than like how people actually want it. So
Yeah, the fact people want it is more of the thing in the game itself. Next one is Hyperdimension Neptunia. Matt, we know what you're gonna say. Just
well,
give it
no,
up.
I'm not going to say put it in S plus. I'm not that crazy. But the thing is, wherever I put it, somebody's going to laugh at me, aren't they? Look, let's put it in B.
Quite a divisive series.
As video games, I can't imagine JRPGs that I would recommend less to people unless I knew they would have very specific tastes. But if you like really silly humor, and if you like fan service, then it's good. It's a good series. But you've got to have very specific taste before I'd recommend it to you. And it's obviously never going to be a particularly influential series because it is just so overtly niche.
And it's
It is
gotten
for
worse
me.
over time, hasn't it?
No,
Like
no,
the earlier games. Oh no?
No, it's kind of the very first one was an absolutely dismal game, but then they got better fairly regularly, like for a while. Since then, they've kind of in more recent times, it seems like they've lost a sense of where to take the series. So they're doing some experiments, and they're not always working. But yeah, the series is generally getting better over time.
Okay.
At least the core ones. The spin-offs are a little bit of a different story, but another day.
Next one is Ogre Battle.
Ooh, that's a good one. Definitely for me, S tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the
Definitely.
Matsuno series?
Sorry?
Is this a Yasumi Matsuno series?
I don't know who was behind it actually. But the tactics or strategy RPGs, and they are pretty intense in terms of their narrative and storytelling.
Because they predate Final Fantasy Tactics, right? But it's the same similar kind of energy where it's
Yeah,
quite a serious story, quite a political story.
Tactics Ogre came first, and then Final Fantasy Tactics followed. And yeah, it is very political. It is very dark. It probably is the same guy behind Final Fantasy Tactics. And now that I think about it, and yeah, it's unfortunate that Square Enix doesn't do more with it, but they've got so many other JRPG properties, I guess.
Yeah. Next one is a very big swerve. Paper Mario.
I did not realize that Paper Mario was considered a different series to Mario and Luigi. I really didn't know that.
They are different series, but they branched out with the Wii game. The Wii Paper Mario is a very weird game, but while that was happening, with the Mario and Luigi series was happening as well.
Yeah, I know they're not the. I know the fans are divided on the more recent ones, I guess. It's a difficult one to place.
Of this series, people only really like 1 and 2.
I don't mind the new one. The new one's fun.
The Switch one is fun. I did enjoy it. But at the same time, I wouldn't say it's a particularly memorable game.
I would say it's C tier with Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, you think it's better or worse than Mario and Luigi?
I think the original Paper Mario is definitely better than any of the Mario and Luigi games that I've played. But at the same time, as a series, I don't think Paper Mario's done any better than Mario and Luigi.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
It's kind of got that one super big classic. It's got the second one was actually quite decent as well, but after that, it's just they haven't done anything with it.
Plus, let's put it this way: Paper Mario is more likely to get another game than Mario and Luigi.
That is true, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like there's going to be a theme as we go on. Nintendo's not really a company that likes to make RPGs. They have, well, we'll get to it. The next one's Parasite Eve.
Oh, S+.
S+? Really?
Jesus, yes.
Are you talking about just the first game, though, or the 3 games?
Oh, the PSP one's not nearly as good, but the first 2.
Oh, you like the second one as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Interesting. I read the book because of the games. Like that's the only reason I even read the book. They're just so good. They're just so intensely brilliant horror RPGs.
I'll put them on the list. I didn't realize that they gave you that reaction because I always thought they were like pretty good.
The first 2 I hold in the same regard. We're talking about horror now, I guess, because the horror theme is obviously very strong in them. But I hold those first two in the same regard that I do Fatal Frame 2, Project Zero 2, and Silent Hill 2 and 3. Like they're that good. They're just brilliant, absolutely brilliant games. And the fact that they bring the horror, the RPG element into horror so effectively makes them really interesting. Really interesting.
Because we've done more than 20 games now, and this is the first one that's even slightly horror themed.
Yes. I would just love for Square Enix to actually do something proper with that series again. I don't know if they would be able to in a way that would capture what made the original so good, but those first two games are just, S+ tier for sure.
Next one, Persona.
A or B?
Way higher than that.
I want to give it
do we go
S+
or S?
I think you love 4, and 3 is good, and 5 is divisive, and no one's played 1 and 2.
Well, 1 and 2 are very different. Like I would consider 1 and 2 more Shin Megami Tensei than Persona. Persona's identity as a series happened with 3. And so 3, 4, and 5 are what Persona is to me. I would say that. See, the thing is, Persona 4 in isolation is an S+ tier game, and I know a lot of people would say the same about 3. Persona 5 drags it down a little bit, I guess. We can put it in S, I guess.
Yeah, we'll put it in S. I think people will get mad if we talk about Persona negatively, but I love the series.
with the disclaimer there that Persona 4 is every bit as good as the best that Dragon Quest and Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy has thrown up.
I think it has the position to possibly get up there if it hits another couple of good games and it becomes a long-running series.
That possibly is it. I mean, I know Parasite Eve's kind of there, even though it only has 2, but the other ones are all kind of long-running series, and perhaps Persona hasn't had the chance to establish that longevity.
It's like demonstrate that consistency.
Yeah, it needs the longevity to be S plus, perhaps.
And speaking of longevity, Pokemon.
S plus.
Yeah, let's do. I think Trent's right on this one. We'll indulge him with an S plus there,
I
simply
mean,
because
even if you like don't like some of the recent games, like I mean, the recent games there's been some very divisive ones, and like the worst Pokemon game is clearly X and Y, and no wait, Ultra Moon I hate. That's X and Y. Yeah, but basically those ones were the worst of the Pokemon games. And and a lot of fans from the older ones are like, Pokemon's not for me now, and all this other stuff, so they hate the new style. But like Pokemon Go, like, is easily like an S plus game in terms of market penetration and
Yeah, I think franchises and money. This is the franchise that's made the most money of this list.
yeah, it is the biggest
If
property
that's
of
how you want to
yours,
measure things.
and I mean, it's obviously been enormously influential. It is just an iconic series, and yeah, sure, you might not like one or two of them along the way, but overall, the quality of the series is pretty, stable. It's not like
Yeah. I
it's
think it's
not
like the
like
games, if you get one, you're probably in for a good time. But the whole extended franchise of it is what gives it so much power. It's
yeah, I
like
mean,
you
it's
can
not
talk
like
about Pokemon, you
it's
can rep Pokemon. It's like
yeah,
it's
it's not
reliable.
like Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi where there's kind of one or two standouts and then the rest is kind of in the doldrums. Pokemon overall is a very consistent series, and yeah, you couldn't say they're bad games, and you certainly couldn't say the series isn't influential. So you can't really place it anywhere but S plus.
Next one we're doing is Romancing Saga.
Oh, that's another one of Square Enix's kind of um, forgotten properties, I guess.
Yeah, it's where all the bizarre ideas that can't make it into Final Fantasy end
Yeah,
up.
and that's kind of why I love the series because they're just so experimental with them. Like they really do play with ideas and try things with the series. So even though they don't always work, I always admire what they do with them.
I'm the
So
same, but every time I try to play it, I hate it quite overtly. I have a terrible time because it never feels good to play these games. They're always just a
I don't
little
know
bit
about that.
prickly, a
Like
little bit weird.
I think some of them are quite enjoyable to play, like Final Fantasy Legend 3, which is actually a Romance and Saga game. Final Fantasy Legend 3 is very good. And then I think Romancing Saga 2 is very good. And the remake in particular is also very much worthwhile. And then,
Mm.
yeah, see, the thing is, I would recommend people play them if you have if you have experience with JRPGs because you can see where ideas kind of are being played out with them. But yeah, I don't think they're kind of 5 out of 5 games either. So
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to put them any lower than Hyperdimension Neptunia. Maybe B.
I would say B for creativity.
Yeah, just for pure
And just
creativity.
warning that if you don't want to learn a new system that you're unfamiliar with, you're not going to like these games.
Yeah, yeah. Rune
Okay,
Factory.
Rune
That's an 80.
Factory.
That's an
Yeah,
80.
that's like
Yeah.
a consistently good time every time you play it.
I guess I was gonna say more B, but yeah,
I thought you liked some farming games, Trent.
I do like farming games. I just hate Rune Factory and what it turned farming games into, and how things like Stardew Valley and all that other stuff is very RPG focused and just a sad time these days. Like,
So you don't
I
like the fusion.
So
You
you
like
just
more
you just want
farming.
to focus on the farming trend
the farming,
and
yeah,
the kind of the character relations. So the RPG bits
yes,
don't work for you. Yeah, I can see
yeah.
that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think the series does interesting things. I think it's been very a consistently good time. I don't think they necessarily innovate enough with it.
Wasn't there another
But
spin-off around the same time? So you have Rune Factory. Wasn't there something which was like a future farming game?
no, that was part of the Harvest Moon series.
Yeah,
They
but
just did
Rune,
futuristic one as well.
yeah, but Rune Factory was also a spin-off of Harvest Moon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is the futuristic one that you're talking about is actually part of the Harvest Moon series. It wasn't a spin-off. Yeah. Shadow Hearts is one game, isn't it?
Yeah, is it? I don't know anything about
Is there a
this.
second one? If there's a second one, I do not know it.
Oh,
But it is excellent.
who
Like
makes it?
this one game is excellent. I don't know why it's a series. It's in the series list.
I'm googling it now. Shadow Hearts. I
It's
don't know a thing. It's a series. It has a trilogy of titles for the PS2.
wow.
Um,
Got some games to catch up on.
it's Shadow Hearts. What are the games? Shadow Hearts Covenant, and Shadow Hearts from the New World.
Well,
And
I've
they
got
all
some.
they came to the West.
I do have some games to catch up on. Then I really did think it was only one. Definitely an A tier one. That one.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to
What's the
assume.
theme of this?
I'm going to assume that the other two are as good as the original. So if that's the case, then definitely an A tier one. What's the theme? They're just very kind of dark themed RPGs, but very very good. Like the storytelling in them is good. They have some interesting things that they do with the combat
Oh,
mechanics. So definitely
so it's
worthwhile.
alternate history with elements of Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's very unique. Didn't
So
know about this.
we were talking about Parasite Eve being one of the few kind of horror themed RPGs. That one has some elements of it too. Not as overtly horror as Parasite Eve, but still it has those
Hmm.
elements in it.
Okay, next one. I'm curious about
Shining
your opinion
Force.
on this. Shining Force.
D.
Really?
Yeah. Of the
So it's
tactics,
like
I mean, that's
if it fought Fire Emblem, it would lose.
um yeah, it's like it's got an axe and Fire Emblem's got a sword. Shining Force for me is the least of the tactics properties. And I do consider it weaker than Langrisser because it just doesn't do anything interesting. The story in those things just aggravates me as being terrible. I can't stand them.
I think
I just
Shining
don't.
Force kind of benefits from being the strategy RPG that was localized compared to Fire Emblem, which stayed in Japan until GBA. Shining Force was available on the Genesis.
To an
So,
extent, but I think it also benefits from being like the game that Sega fans can point to as their tactics RPG, while Nintendo fans are enjoying Fire Emblem. It's just it seems to exist just to be the Sega tactics thing, and I don't rate it at all. I think it's awful, and I'm going to get flamed for that, but I don't
I
care.
mean,
You're all wrong if you like
we're gonna
Shining
say
Force.
good things about Sega games later. This is
Yes.
just not the one.
No.
Star Ocean.
Oh, I want to put that on an S, but I know it's not.
For the whole series, Star Ocean is pretty inconsistent, right?
Yeah, I think that's its problem. Star Ocean 4 and 5 were a kind of a weak point for the series. I enjoyed them enough for what they were, but definitely they let fans down. 1, 2, and 3 are all great, and then this new one that came out 2 years ago, last year, is actually a real return to form, like genuinely interesting and well done game. But yeah, that midpoint kind of hurt them. And it's obviously not a key property for Square Enix either. They don't put
Yeah,
anywhere near
it's
the
another
effort
one of
into it.
those franchises that suffers from just not being the main Square Enix property.
Yeah, but let's put it in A. I do think it's more than a B tier. I do think the quality of 1, 2, 3, and 6 do elevate it above some of the kind of the B tier and below games.
I think when it sings, it really does sing, right? It really
Yeah, and
stands out among them.
it's unique in the way that it has this kind of intergalactic quality to it. Most RPGs are kind of localized. Even the science fiction ones are kind of localized to a single planet or a single world, or even a small kind of 2 or 3 worlds. But Star Ocean has that kind of intergalactic quality to it. It's got that Star Wars quality that you're kind of going on a quest across the entire universe. So it has and it has a really interesting way of kind of mixing low tech and high tech. It's also got that kind of Star Trek quality that a lot of the planets you land on are low tech, but you're in spaceships and stuff, and that kind of contrast is also really interesting and enjoyable. So there's a lot to love about Star Ocean as a property. I just wish Square Enix probably put a little bit more effort into it, I guess, to elevate it
it's a
higher.
good sell.
Yeah.
Next one's Suikoden.
Oh, that's got to be an S tier, right?
S tier.
Yeah.
It's not many games, but all the games are great, right?
There's a reason that people keep begging Konami to actually do something with the series, right? It's that good. And it is based on literature. It's based on an all-time
What a
classic.
margin, yeah.
Yeah, an all-time classic Chinese novel, one of the 4 great works of Chinese literature. And they do a good job of doing justice to that kind of heritage. So yeah, there's nothing to complain about with the series either. Yeah.
Is it accessible? Like, if you were to pick up a copy of Suikoden 1 or 2 right now and play it, like, would you be able to get into it easily?
I think you need to be a fan of kind of older JRPGs because there's definitely qualities about them that are aged, but
Mm.
they're aged in a way that gives them a classic quality rather than I don't really want to play this anymore quality.
Yeah, I mean it's a PS1 era
Yes,
JRPG,
the
right?
original
So
one, yes.
the genre's kind of developed compared to some of these SNES franchises.
Yeah, and definitely Suikoden was part of that development of the genre. It was definitely part of the conversation. Not perhaps as much as Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, but there are definitely things that that series did that has become kind of iconic to the genre. So yeah, it's definitely
Cool.
S tier.
You played Summon Night before, Matt?
I have maybe D tier. They're not good.
That was on the
I
DS as well, wasn't it?
it
Yes.
was on the Game Boy. I quite liked the Game Boy Advance games, but I think this was when I was a stupid kid that didn't know what JRPGs were. So it was like the first JRPG that I've played to completion, and I have a soft spot for it. But I'm sure if I went back to it now, I'd be like, this is not that good.
Yeah, and the series hasn't grown in any way. The more recent ones are just not that much. They're just
Yeah.
not great. It kind of sits there. If you're a real fan of JRPGs, you may pick them up and give them a go, but you're not going to recommend it to anybody. You're not going to
It's
talk
quite
about
like
it on
fluffy,
forums.
forgettable kind of
Yeah.
fare, right?
There's nobody's talking about Summer Night, and there's a reason for that.
Super Robot Wars.
This is a series I haven't played, so you're going to have to rank it.
I haven't played it either, but I hear, well, people love it. And
Well, I mean, if none of us have
not just
played it, we
because
should add it
Neko
to didn't play. Unless
didn't
Trent, have you
play.
played them?
I have not played this
Yeah,
Robot
there we
Wars
go.
game.
We've got a
Okay.
didn't play. We got,
Well, that's everyone's homework for today. Go home and play
which
Super Robot Wars.
we'll probably get the most flame. We'll get the most hatred for not having played it. Actually, I do know that it has a reputation that's pretty positive. Like people,
Yeah, that's
people
actually incredible
like
that we've
it.
gone through this many games. This is the first one we've never played, all three
Yeah.
of us.
So
feel like
tell me
if I
much else to
played
say
it,
about
I'm
that.
gonna hate it.
I'll add it to the list. People who are making angry comments in the comments section. I will play it eventually when I have time.
Okay,
Which is
speaking
never.
of angry comments again, Tails.
D.
I know you don't like Tails, Matt.
No. The thing is, I actually really like the last one, Tales of Arise.
Hmm.
I loved Tales of Arise, actually. I absolutely loved it. And it's elevated the series a little bit for me. I think I can appreciate some of the older ones a bit more now.
Yeah.
Because
I like the whole series. I think it's well designed. It's the flagship of Bandai Namco, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bandai
flagship
Namco.
RPG for a big company, and they put effort into it. They're very Moorish games. Like they have really well-rounded character designs, and there's a lot to learn about the combat and the world. Like it's
I like
big. It
Berseria
feels
as
like
well.
it's a
I
sizable
think
franchise.
I think for me, what kind of bugged me about Tales, the earlier ones, was the storytelling side of things.
It's not a heavy story series.
It's always been about two things. Like, firstly, the characters, like you say, the kind of character interactions has always been important and has kind of done a lot of the heavy lifting for the storytelling. And the combat, it's always been a very kind of combat orientated series. And its mechanics. And I'm not a big fan of games that just force me to engage with their mechanics and as in isolation. Like, I like a game that has good mechanics, of course, but if the game's just like, here's the mechanics, this is the entire focus of the game, it doesn't really work for me. And I thought the earlier Tales games were like that, but the more recent ones have definitely done a better job with the storytelling. So I'm actually a bigger fan of the series now than I was 3 or 4 years ago. So
I want to
maybe
give it an A
A.
for Redemption. Yeah, A for the Redemption arc.
Yeah, I don't think they're the iconic JRPG, but they're close enough.
They're a good recommendation. They're a good starting point.
Yeah, you
because
can definitely recommend them to people easy enough. Yeah.
Dark Hero Chronicles.
Oh, that's an S tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get into it, right? It's a weird like turn-based real-time strategy comic book thing.
Yeah, but the really intelligent storytelling. They're one of the few games that treat war in the way that war should be treated as a concept. Most games that treat war as a kind of this entertaining adventure thing. Valkyria Chronicles is one of the few that actually has a more sober and more introspective and more worthwhile look into war as a concept. And for that reason, the series does really stand out for me as something valuable and worthwhile and important. So yeah, S tier.
You've got to increase speed now. Valkyrie profile.
I don't really care enough about this series. Maybe D.
I would put it in like a B or a C. I think the community likes it, but it's a bit more niche out of all of them.
Yeah, you can put it into B or a C.
Because the community likes it doesn't mean you put it higher.
I felt the negative comments just wash over me. Xenoblade.
Oh, that's another tough one to rank, isn't it? I'd put it as an A.
Yeah, I almost want to put it in an S. It's huge in scope. No other RPG in here gives you a world that big with that much stuff.
You can put it
I
there
feel
if you
like it's
want.
only now getting popular and big in terms of in the West, though.
Well, there's only
Like,
3
I
of them,
think,
so
yeah, it's hard. It's because there's no Xeno. Oh, there is Xenosaga on this list. Okay, never mind.
well,
Just
that's that's
Xenoblade
that's that's the other
Chronicles 1, 2,
consideration. I
3.
mean, this is just the Xenoblade trilogy, and I
Just
don't
the
think,
Xenoblade trilogy.
yeah, I don't think they're quite as I mean, the earlier Xeno games are much higher in rank as far as I'm concerned. I think these are
Really?
fine. I enjoy these plenty, but I don't think they say enough. I don't think they do
I,
enough.
no, I don't go bad for them. I think they're great. I think the starting point for JRPGs, maybe even beyond Final Fantasy, because you tell someone, hey, you have this massive world to explore and this many things to do, people are going to be in for it.
Okay, fair enough. You can
Wild
overwrite me on that
Arms.
one. A
Alan's
solid
going to be
A.
yelling at us. Wild Arms, yeah, it's respected, right? If you
I
play a
don't
Wild
know
Arms game,
S.
you like a Wild Arms game.
I don't know S. I don't think they've done enough to be that level. I think A is pretty fair for them.
Hmm.
That
I know
they're
it has its fans, certainly.
you
I've
know,
just
if you
never
look if you
played it
look
to
at the other
completion.
ones, yeah, if you look at the other ones in the A rank, it's kind of these are great games for people who love their JRPGs. And
Hmm.
Wild Arms is certainly that, and it has an interesting theme and the Western theme, and that makes it a little bit different and all those things. So there's nothing wrong with the series by any means. I just don't think it pushes boundaries enough to be higher rank. I don't think it is kind of influential or important enough as a
Yeah.
series to be S or better.
Yeah. Definitely. If you're a JRPG fan, you'll like Wild Arms. Xenosaga,
Well, it can't be less than Xenoblade.
we can put it also in S, I guess.
Yes.
It's not an S plus game.
No, probably
If
not.
if you could excise just the story, maybe then it's S
I
plus game.
mean, I'm struggling to think of a series as a series that is more dense philosophically than Xenosaga. Like if you're going to sit down and write a thesis on a JRPG from a narrative or literature point of view, then you probably reach for Xenosaga as a series.
Hmm.
Um, just whether, as games to play, whether people still want to pick them up, I don't know. Maybe not.
Is it true that part of the game just like sitting in a room seeing people talk to each other?
There's all kinds of stuff going on in that one.
There's all
It was
kinds
one
of
of the
stuff going
first
on.
ones to really get criticized by the church too, because you do kill God in it.
I feel like you do that in a lot of these games. I could
Well,
see quite a few series in
this
this list
one,
where we kill God.
yeah, this one really kind of turns heads for just how nihilistic it was and how, yeah, it's philosophy. It's philosophy first, game second. So
Mm.
whether you
Yeah,
enjoy it or not, I don't know. But certainly in terms of being an intelligent series that's important to the genre, I consider it right up there.
I respect that it exists. Yokai Watch.
See, this series had so much potential, didn't it? And they
Yeah,
just
and then
didn't
that
To
it's
execute.
kind of fizzled a bit.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
C.
I respect the chutzpah it has for wanting to contend with Pokemon, and it really did seem like it was putting up a fight for a bit.
Yeah, I mean
But yeah,
the first two were like this series has potential. Like it could go places. They've got the characters, they've got the, Jibanyan, the cat is could be a Pikachu-like character down the track. It just
mm,
had all the potential, and then just level 5 happened to it.
and then
yeah,
Komisan, which was like in the game as well, which was so
Yeah.
good.
It just had so much potential and they just couldn't convert
I'd
into
say it's more of a B series than a C series. Like it's definitely better than like what came out is definitely better than Paper Mario and Luigi, and that's
okay,
all
yeah,
right, move it up to B. We'll
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
promote
yeah.
it for Trent.
I'm just thinking like in 10 years, will people go back and play Yokai Watch games,
No,
or will they? Yeah, I guess
no,
they won't play. They won't come back and play a lot of the games in the B and C
I
tiers.
feel like
no,
it's
you're
got a
right.
niche in terms of people loving it because it was that weird, almost Pokemon like thing, and like it seems like Level 5 is starting to try and get it back into people's minds again, but I feel like the damage is probably already done. It's not really going to be a successful
Yeah,
series in the
Yeah,
West anymore,
it was fun
unfortunately.
while it lasted, I guess.
yeah. Oh, here we go.
East.
This is going to be controversial. I hate the series mostly.
I I thought this was like Tales. You kind of come around on it based on the last couple
The
entries.
last one I enjoyed, but that is the last one. I mean, the one before
Hmm.
that, which was on the island, 8. The only reason I liked that was
Yeah,
because it had a cute girl and swimsuit. But
yeah. Falcom's starting to catch on to this. They never
no,
used to have the fan service characters, and now they're like, well, Matt's going to review this.
yeah, that's right. They do it for me. No, nine I did enjoy. So maybe down the track I'll think more highly of the series, but before 8, it's not for me at all. But I know other people like it, so you put it where you think it belongs, Harvard, because you're
I'm
much
gonna put it
more.
in S tier.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
Ys is the best of the action RPG designs. Out of all the ways of approaching action, Ys is fast paced. It's actually like it gives you kinetic movement, which is really good. And when you have a game like that, you need the narrative to be simple. You can't have the players sit down and listen to a philosophical argument and then go out and rush through a level. So
Sure,
yeah,
that's fine. I'll take you.
it's
You can put it where you think.
if you like action games, Ys best. Arc the Lad.
D tier.
Okay.
I mean, there's not much else to say about it. It's not bad. I don't mind it. I don't have an issue with it, but I don't think it's in any way a game that should be revived. There's just nothing to do with it.
Really?
So yeah,
Just don't bring it back.
just don't bring it back. It was fine for what it was, but it's not going to be a JRPG worth talking about.
Okay. Shin Megami Tensei.
S plus.
S plus. Yes.
Just way influential. I mean, the whole reason Persona exists is because of Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah. And the reason Pokemon exists because of Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, I mean, it was just such an influential series, and I know people bounced a little bit on the most recent one, but I mean, Shin Megami Tensei 3 is probably my favorite hardcore, dark kind of RPG of all. So yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
series.
remember the story where like that's the first game where your name's in the box, right?
Yes, it's my first game where my review actually got onto the box too, so I'm a little bit proud of that. But yeah, it's just that good. It's just brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Golden Sun.
D.
It had a good introduction on the original game. I mean, yes, the second game is hot trash and the third game is acceptable, but the first game has that great opening scene where it's dark, it's storming.
You just love hometowns being destroyed, Trent.
It's at least a B tier.
I would give it a B tier too.
We can put a B tier, but I'll tell you,
it's a great first JRPG. It's a good introduction. It's got good puzzles, good combat. Like it's a Bravely Default kind of game. It's like everything is fine.
That's the thing I hated about it, was because it had all those puzzles. The dungeons were these long extended puzzles while you were having random encounters. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. It stressed me the living fuck out of me, because I was like, am I going to be able to get through the dungeon before I ran out of health and stuff? That just pissed me off, that series. But anyway,
now that you've said that, you're right, C tier.
I just
you sold me.
No, put it on B for Trent's sake, but I did not gel with that series at all. Disgaea,
Disgaea,
maybe A.
Yeah, I've never played it actually. It's a bit intimidating for me because how high the levels go, how the numbers go. Yeah, it's definitely a sink lots of hours into this game, kind of.
Yeah, and you do have to have a specific sense of humor, I guess, to really kind of click with it, and it is definitely not accessible, but it's just a very clever series in terms of the mechanics. They're all very well designed, and the game does a good job of being quite meta, I guess, in the sense of a lot of it's a kind of reflection on video games as a thing. So I think it's smarter than a lot of people give it credit for, and it does play well. So as a series, it's up there.
Now, Phantasy Star, this one's pretty difficult to me.
I would put it S.
Really? That's higher than I would have put it.
I think that's too influential to be less than S. I think it's a very influential series, yeah.
Because it's like the first sci-fi series, right?
It was the first sci-fi series, and you look at Phantasy Star, the MMO one that's still very popular today. The series has kind of kept going and has continued to build on it as a property. So, I'm not a big fan of any of the individual games, really. I like the first one a lot, but I think it's just too influential not to have as an S tier.
Yeah,
it's one of those iconic ones.
We didn't get to talk about difficulty too, but Phantasy Star, the early ones, and the Shin Megami Tensei, the early ones, are the hardest games on this list by far.
They are very hard.
Really, really challenging.
Very hard.
Next one, Dark Cloud.
Maybe A tier.
Yeah, it's a level 5 game. Pretty good gameplay.
Yeah, I mean they work, don't they? And I like the one with the ships more. Dark Chronicles, was it?
Dark Chronicle, yeah.
Yeah, I like the one that was kind of broader in scope, but yeah, they're decent games. The roguelike quality in them works nicely, and yeah, they're good. They're just
very good production values. It's kind of where JRPGs were going in the PS2 era before they died as a genre.
Yeah. And
the last
finally,
one,
Secret of Mana.
Mana.
Maybe A tier.
Yeah, kind of divisive, this one.
I
Secret
mean,
of Mana.
Secret of Mana itself is right up there with the greats of the genre, but
People love it and hate it. I've seen.
outside of that one, it hasn't really done a whole lot.
Have you played Trials?
Yeah.
What did you think of Trials?
It's very good. It's very good, but it doesn't really have that iconic status, does it? It's not.
Because it didn't come out in the West. But everyone who I've talked to who's played Trials has been like, this is the best SNES game that's ever been made.
But when they remade it, it didn't really create a splash, or re-released it, you know, in the Mana collection. It just didn't create a splash, which tells me the series doesn't have that kind of historical quality to it that some of the
I also think the
games
Mana brand has really been mismanaged, because Final Fantasy Adventure was the first game, Secret of Mana was the next game, and then the only ones that came out after were like quite bad entries.
So
like
I mean,
Heroes of Mana, like not very good games.
I think putting it alongside the likes of Star Ocean is about right for where it belongs in Square Enix's.
Yeah, it has some great games, but it's not a consistent series. It's another game that's been screwed by Square Enix because it's not Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So I mean, the only other one that it's not on this list because there are only 2 games in the series, but I do think we should mention quickly is the Nier series of 2. They'd be S+ tier for sure as well. As like the smartest games that we have in the genre. They're just brilliant. So I mean, and if you consider
Nier goes like a level above Xenosaga, where Xenosaga is like intelligence but not backed by gameplay.
I'm actually I'm a little bit surprised that Nier isn't on there, because you can kind of roll it into Drakengard as well.
Drakengard,
Drakengard plus Nier becomes a 5-game series, and it is by far the smartest JRPGs that have ever been made. So we do include that here. We don't have the little pictures to put onto the tier maker, but it's an S+ as well. Yeah. So anyway, that is our tier ranking. Let's see what people think of it. I'm sure there will be words spoken. Do let us know in the comments where you would put some of these things. We do genuinely, I mean, we've been laughing about it, but we do genuinely want to hear your thoughts as well. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Trent and Harvard. This was a lot of fun. I think it's it was a good time.
Good content.
Good content.
Smash the like button.
And subscribe.